Right, hopefully that should now be all sorted. Sorry about that. I had to turn my phone off and back on again in the end. I think its virtual memory had enough, or too much, I guess it could be. Let me just get it up on the computer just to make sure it's working. Let's have a look. Much better. Right. So welcome to the third part of the hobby hangout. Hopefully we're going to see quite a bit more done on the Vistula Legion today. You'll be pleased to see that I'll put it in shot. I've got myself some nice fresh clean water after after much debate. Yeah, no, cheers, Dan. It absolutely is take two. Let's hope it's a bit more successful than the first attempt here. Now, my internet's going a bit weird, and it looks really out of focus on my laptop. Let's see if I can get it to focus on my hand. It might just be that I'm trying to stream too much at once. But yeah, so hopefully, I'm hoping today we can get this company of guys finished. So that'll be 6 figures. That's much better. I've just refreshed it and it's clear now. So that'll be the other 3 figures from this company. And then hopefully I'll also be able to get some more done, perhaps some elite company and the command done as well. So we'll see how it goes. I'm looking to run for 2, maybe 3 hours today. So we'll see. Hopefully till about 1, 2 o'clock-ish. The sun's coming around already. It was a bit hazy this morning. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes. So the first thing I need to do is finish off this company. Now, I've got a sprue here. I'm going to try and see if you can focus in on it by putting my hand there first. You can see these guys here. Let's just get that thing. I've done these with brown trousers, and that's just to allow a little bit of variation on the final unit. I've also got some guys in white trousers, but I haven't got any of those up to this stage yet. So, as has been the case before, I'm going to paint the muskets. These need doing, so I'm going to paint them on the sprue. Then I'm going to have to paint the buttons, and then we can start looking at getting them done. Now, on Saturday, I was doing some of the elite company things. We got these figures out, but we didn't have the elite company guys. And one of the reasons why I hadn't done them is because I didn't have their heads. So they actually arrived just after I finished recording on Saturday. Let's get these on camera here. So these are from Warlord Games. They are the Vistula Legion Chakras. Now, the useful thing about these is they've got the Starburst already modelled on them, which, having sculpted a load of them by hand, let me tell you, is an absolute bonus win. So I'm going to pop them there. I've already got some of those that I've already started. That's these ones here. And I'm going to probably glue these on some bodies I've got here that I've prepped for them. And I'll use the sabered backs for those guys. And we'll have a look at some elite company by the end of the day as well. So that's enough talk. Let's get started. I've got these muskets to do. Now, as with the previous ones, I'm going to start with the metal just as soon as I can find it. There we are. Now, if you haven't seen the previous videos, the reason why I start with the metal is because that's inside the wood almost. So what I find with that one is it makes it a lot easier to then go over with the wood later. It's less likely that I'm going to go over the metal that I've already got painted. If I did it the wood first and then tried to paint the metal, I'd probably get metal onto the furniture, and that would not be advisable. So how about you guys? Are you guys painting along today? Have you got anything on the go at the moment? Let me know in the comments. I'll try and keep up with them if I can. Those of you who saw when I tried the first time will see the absolute state that this room's in at the moment. It definitely needs a good tidy up. But hopefully, once these figures are done, I can then spend some time actually tidying up, getting ready for the summer campaign season. We can get some games on up here after the isolation due to the coofs finished. So I'm just getting the metal done on these. I'm going to wash them with Nuln Oil, and then we'll do the furniture, the weapons. Now, as I said in the first video, I'd normally paint these ones at the same time as well, but I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit because I want to get quite a lot done today. I've just remembered that if it's not on the card, it's not in the shot. So let me move these guys out of the way and lean forward a little bit. Sorry, I'm a little bit all over the place today. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, as I get into my rhythm, get the mojo going, it'll start to work quite a bit better. So there we go there. Quickly turn them over. Get them done. Now, because this is the inner layer, I don't have to be super neat about getting it on the furniture. Obviously, try not to if you can avoid it. But if you end up getting it on the bit that you're going to paint wood in a second, not necessarily the end of the world, because we're going to paint over it anyway. You'll be able to see as well that I've done all the cuffs and turnbacks. So I've done those with the sunburst yellow and then highlighted them with, I think it's golden yellow. Oh, no, sorry, no, the Avalan Sunset is the darker yellow. And then I've highlighted it with sunburst, which is a very old Games Workshop colour. I'm not really sure what the current light yellow is called, to be honest. It served me very well for many years. You only need it because it's very pale. It's quite a bright yellow. You only need a little bit on at a time, so that's not too bad. We're just checking the camera. It seems to be going okay. I'll do a quickly paint that one there. Just use up the rest of this metal. So I've got his thumb there. Never mind. I'll have to go over that later. I'm just using up the rest of the paint that was on the brush here. Oh, no, I haven't said that. I probably should actually finish the muskets I'm supposed to be doing, shouldn't I? This one here. Get that one done. Zip down there. So, yep, done all those. And this one at the end. Yep, lovely. Now, I probably shouldn't have started metallics with my new clean water, because there's actually small bits of metal in this. So it does mean that there's now metal in that water. But hey ho, never mind. I think the state of the last water I was using is goes to show that that's not necessarily the worst thing that this water's going to face. So that's these guys here. As you can see, I've already started the packs. They're mostly done. So I'm going to leave those to dry before I put the wash on. Hopefully at some point today, I'm going to use my recently acquired GMB design flags. So this is the Vistula Legion ones. And I'm going to get them on the flagpole. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we'll get to that point. But we'll see. I've got it cut out and ready to go. So these guys here, I'll tell you what, I'll get the command sprue and show you how we're going on with that one. So this is the command sprue. I've done quite a lot on it already. What I'm actually going to do now, you can see I've already done the metal on this, so I'm going to wash that, and then by the time I've washed these, I can carry the wash over onto the sprue that we've just done, and it'll save us keep opening and closing pots. I tend to find if you can do this, quite a lot when you've got a paint open, then it saves you quite a lot of time. It may not only save you 30 seconds, but you do that 10 times and suddenly you're looking at 5 minutes that you've saved. So it does add up. So get the wash on the musket here. Now these two arms are going to be for this chap here. He's the pioneer. That's the officer's sword. Now I'm doing both officer's swords. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use yet. I've also painted the light infantry officer sword as well. So the difference here is the straight one That's for line. Now, those are the ones that we'll be using because there weren't any designated light infantry units in the Vistula Legion. But this curved saber here, that's for any light companies that you want to do. There's also a scabbard that matches the saber as well. So that's really nice. That's a nice addition from the Perrys. It's just something a little bit different. I've actually already converted one of my Perry officers to have a light infantry saber. And I took it from a hussar, and it does look a little bit silly. It's a little bit longer than the infantry saber. And it's not too bad because he's waving it in the air, but it's not quite as good as I would have wanted it to have been. So let's get these bayonets done here. This one with a little flag. This little flag here, that's used at the end of a row of troops. So you can take dressing off it, so you can make sure you're all stood in a line. So I'll be using that on probably either a voltigeur or a grenadier, possibly a grenadier, because he'll be on the right hand side of the battalion when it's done. So yeah, so that's what that one's for. Now they can be different colours. I don't think there was any regulations about what colour they had to be. Now I could be wrong on that one. I'm sure someone will let me know in the chat if I am. But they could be pretty much any colour. I haven't decided if I'm going to colour mine yet. I'm going to leave it white for now. White was one of the colours that they were. But I might paint it red or blue later on. I'm not 100% sure yet. So I think that's all the metal done on there, including these two halberds for the Eagle Guards. So that's that one done there. That was actually a bit quicker than I expected it to be. Have I done any other metals I can wash? Nope. So I have to go back to these. Oh no, something that I did mention I was going to wash yesterday was the bear skin of the Pioneer. It was a bit brown, wasn't it? So as you can see, I've done a bit more on him now. I'm going to wash his beard. And I'm just going to wash the brown on here, just to darken it down a little bit. I'm going to take the paint out of the lid, which is where it's thickest. It's got the most pigment there. And just brush that on, and hopefully that'll tone that brown down a little bit. Instead of looking like he's wearing a teak cup on his head, it looked like he's actually wearing a dark brown bear skin. And I've also got the other side of these swords to do. Saber here. The blood channel there, which is used for lightening the sword as well as actually draining the blood. It's more to do with lightening the sword. It's called a fuller. That takes the wash quite nicely, and it really brings the detail on that sword out. So I'll pop that one over there, and we'll go back to these. These are the ones that we've just done. You can tell because it's the sprue with the chaps with the brown trousers on. Obviously, having seen a British line in front of them. No, they're really cut from Spanish cloth, the idea is here. And it just adds that little bit of storytelling element to your figures as well. It makes them look that little bit more veteran. That they've been campaigning for long enough for their initial equipment to wear out, and they've had to source local alternatives. Again, as with the different coloured Shako covers, you can see a couple have got the lighter coloured Shakos there. It just adds a bit of variation to the unit. It just allows that finished unit to look a little bit different and have just stop it being a massive all the same colour. It individualizes the figures in the unit. I think that can look quite nice. You don't need to do it too much because then they stop looking like a coherent unit. But if you do it just a little bit of variation, then that really helps. Hi Lewis, nice to see you, buddy. I'll get this on there. So we've got another. Oh, blimey! There's flicking wash on my hand. So we've got another 1, 2. This one he's doing. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, with the 5 guys. Now, you see one of them he's got no head. Well, that's because I'm going to make him a light infantryman. Now, for the heads for the light infantry, there's two different types of elite company Shakos in this box. You either get either bear skins or you get Shakos. And the Shakos have got like a... so this would be a Shako. Hopefully the camera's going to focus on my hand. This is an elite company Shako here. You see it's got the extra tuft there that the regular Shako doesn't have. Now this is probably what they would have worn in the Peninsula if you're a Voltigeur or a Grenadier. But I'm going to go for these heads for the Voltigeurs with a very large plume and the Shako cords on. And I'm going to use the Chapkas, as we spoke about earlier on. They're going to be for the Grenadiers. So it's a little bit ahistorical, but as we were talking about yesterday, I think there's so much written about the Vistula Legion, what equipment they had, what equipment they didn't. Then I think you can't really be accused of being wrong, to be honest. I'm doing Jackson. I'm doing great. Tornadoes all over my state. Wow, Barry, which state's that? As if you didn't have enough going on in the world at the moment. You've got tornadoes as well. I guess we should be grateful here that we don't have those to contend with. I did see a video by Chris Stuckman. He's a guy who does film reviews, and there was like a big lightning crash in the middle of his film review, which was very dramatic. But yeah, he was a bit concerned. That's what I'm after. These Chapkas. Now, as you can see, or you might be able to see, let's hold them up to the camera. I'm trying to get a bit better than this. I've already painted them bone. I've done the Shakos with the Black Templar already. Sorry, the Chapkas with the Black Templar already. And I've painted the collars. Now, these collars are modelled onto the heads. So there's two ways of doing it. You can either cut the collars off the figures and then just glue the whole thing on after it's been painted, like as I've done here. So if I show you in a second the figures that this is going to go on. So these chaps here, you can see I've cut the collars off there. So that's just a flat head. This is what they look like glued on. This is a sprue that I haven't undercoated specifically to show you. So that's what they're going to look like, hopefully. So you can either cut the collar off the plastic figure, which is what I've done, or you can always, when you nip them off the sprue here, just nip them off at the bottom of the face and leave the collar on the sprue and then glue them in that way. Now, the reason I did them this way was for two reasons. One, it's a lot easier to cut plastic than it is metal. What I ended up doing was using the clippers to get the most of it off, and then using my super sharp knife to cut the rest off and get that nice flat area. So it's much easier to cut the plastic than it is the metal. And the second reason is it's much easier to paint the collars on these guys than it is when they're on the actual model, because you're trying to avoid straps and things like that. So those are the two reasons that I decided to do it this way. If you decide to do it the other way and you cut the heads off here at the bottom of the face, then that's absolutely fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. It's very much what you find easiest for you. Jackson's in North Carolina and still going to work. Bloody hell. That is very impressive, sir. Well done. You've got my admiration for that one. So, Pitt's in Germany. Monday, quite pleasant. Yeah, I was in Berlin quite recently. And certainly Sundays, they keep Sunday a lot more than they do here in the UK. It's just pretty much another day here. But in Germany, it was very nice and quiet. Right, so that's those heads done. The black wash on those guys should be drying about now. So what I'm going to do while this is going on is I'm going to go back to my command sprue. Now, one of the things that I've got to do on here that I'm probably not going to have to do on any of the other sprues is gold. Now, a gold that I use is this newish Games Workshop paint, Retributor Armor. It's designed, there we are. It's designed for the new Sigmarines that they've got out. and it's a base gold. It's a really nice paint, and it's a really nice gold. It takes particularly well when you've put a brown wash over it. So what we'll do is we'll paint the bits that are going to be gold, and then we'll go back over it with the wash afterwards. So there's two officers here. There's this chap here. I've also painted this torso as well, or I've started painting it. So I'm going to do the gold. Sorry, it's just off the camera there. I've also got this torso here, which you can see I've done most of. The yellow still needs highlighting and things like that. But I'll do that one as well. And then there's also the standard bearer. This guy here, he's an officer as well. He's a junior officer. So he's not quite got the bling of the CO, but he is going to have gold buttons up the front there. There's also the eagle here. I'm going to do that as well. Because this Retributor armor is a base, I don't necessarily have to undercoat before I use it. I mean, it's better if you do, but not essential. The reason I'm not too fussed about this eagle is it's probably not the one I'm going to finally use. The Poles did carry eagles, but it was a different design to the French one. It was quite a bit different as well. Now, there is a company, Front Rank, that sell separate eagles, but I haven't got any at the moment. So I'll do this one for now, and we'll get him on. And then in future, when I've bought the Front Rank ones, we can chop him off and we can glue the Front Rank one on. Possibly drill the bottom of the Front Rank eagle, because he's going to be in metal. And then we'll be able to get the flagpole up his bum, as it were. That's that officer done there. Don't forget he's got his buttons and his belt buckle there as well. We'll do this other one. Again, if we use the side of the brush and not too much paint, you can get those buttons themselves. Very nice. Happy with that. And then we've got the sous-lieutenant here. He's the chap holding the flag. Now, I'm just looking at him there. He's wearing a different type of coat to everyone else. So I might have to do some facings on that in a second. Let's see. There's where his button goes under his strap. There we are. So that's cool. So we've done those. Importantly, don't forget the back as well. Now, the tails here, they look like they're for an officer, but they're not. They're actually for the sapper. So they're not gold. They're going to be brass. We flip them over. We see he's got 3 buttons on each pocket, and then he's got 2 there on his tails. And the sous-lieutenant, he hasn't got anything. He's got... Oh, actually, no, sorry. I say that's the... No, sorry, no, that's going to be the sapper, isn't it? That'll be the standard bearer. So I will have to do that hilt gold. So that's fine. Let's get them done. Now, he's probably got some epaulets as well, this officer. He does. So let's grab those as well. Again, if we miss any parts here, it's not necessarily the end of the world. You can always go back when he's actually been finished building, and we can get him done there. Now, I'm going to do both swords as well, because I'm not sure which sword I'm going to use yet. So let's get them done, and then we can make the decision when he's off the sprue. I have to say, I do like both of these officer swords. I will certainly be using them on the different battalions that I do, because obviously I'm going to do more than just one battalion. So all of these different swords will get used, potentially even the light infantry one. But it's just a question of which one I'm going to use at the moment. So let's do the old Hangout on here as well. There we go. Try not to get it on the steel of the actual blade. I had a couple of questions. So when people have viewed the videos on the channel about how I get rid of mould lines on the figures. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you do, but a mould line is where the two halves of the mould that presses the figures, where it joins, there's normally a very thin sort of line that runs down the length of the sprue where they meet. I'm trying to look on here, something that I haven't done. So if you can see it, you might be able to. Let's try and get it up. There's one there on that bear skin. You might not be able to see it very well. But the idea is that you can use the side of your not too sharp knife and scrape them off. Now, I find that easier to do on the sprue than off the sprue. And I think there were some people who would be quite surprised by that. But the reason is, you know where it's going to be. You know that it's going to go along the same length of the sprue that everything goes, because that's how they're formed. So when they're on the sprue, you know exactly where all those mould lines are going to be. You can scrape them off with your bluntish knife, and it just means that it's, you don't necessarily have to go hunting for them like you do on the finished figure. Let's get this eagle done. Very nice. There is a company in Russia. I think they're in Russia. It's a company called Avonpost, and I'm not sure how much it is. I think it's about a tenner a throw. It might be more than that. And they'll cast your eagle in actual gold. I've seen a few people online with those. It's definitely a thing. To be honest, I don't think it looks very good. I don't think gold, like in real life, ever looks as good as you think it's going to. I think it looks a bit tacky. But yeah, no, I mean, well, fair play. If you've got the money, then absolutely, why not? I also don't, I mean, you wouldn't be able to paint it either, I guess. So otherwise, that would rather defeat the object. Rusty Gold, you read that front rank is still running but have a huge backlog. Oh, fantastic. Okay. I do need to get some more of their stuff anyway. I need to get some Russian Guard infantry to finish off my battalion of those. So that's good news. But there's no super rush for them. The style of coat was termed a Kinski. Yeah, I think it was certainly something like that. And you're right. Yes, it is a different style. I think it's a Kurta. I think it might be. But I'm absolutely no expert in Polish and or fashion, so I'm more than happy to be told I'm wrong on that one. Let's get that officer's sword done there. That's nice. Just looking at him from a different angle. Get underneath that gorget done there. So I think we're pretty good on that one. Cool. Right. So having done that, that sun's coming around. Right, now I'm sure the metal on the brown trouser sprue, as we're going to call it, I'm sure that's going to be done. So we can get the furniture done on these. Now, let's not forget that on the initial sprue, the original sprue, the one with the red cross on, we've still got these two chaps here. We didn't cut them off because we didn't have the backpacks for them. We only had the ones with the sabers on, and therefore the elite companies. We also didn't have the arms for them. We've only got the ones with the epaulets on, and again, therefore the elite companies. So we've still got those two guys. We've not forgotten about those, but they're just going to have to go over here for now. And we'll have to leave them for when we've got a full sprue of elite guys, and we've got the spare backpacks and arms from those that we've not used. So it's going to be a bit sort of a chop and a change. If I'd planned it better, then I probably would have had 2 elite companies per sprue. But it is as it is. I've just noticed there's a bit of bone gone onto that arm there. That's from where I did the flesh. There's also a couple of bits missing there as well. So I've just touched them up with a bit of the contrast blue, just so I don't forget in future. Now we'll get on with the musket. Yeah, Warlord are doing limited service. Like I say, I got the Chapkas through the post on Saturday. I did order them while they were still fully open, so I can't speak for orders that were placed while they were closed, but I can't imagine many people placed orders while they were closed, to be honest. So I can't imagine there's too much of a backlog there. We'll start with this one. I don't know if you saw there, I also touched up the backpack with a little bit of brown as well. I'd noticed that the black had gone a bit onto the brown. So you see here, there's a very pale hand there. He's either got the plague or I forgot to paint his hand with the flesh contrast, but that's okay. We can go back and do that. Try and get these straight edges on the musket. Again, by using the side of the brush, we can control where we're going because the detail is inscribed on. So it means that by using the side of it, we're not going to get it on the metal, hopefully. Let's see. Let's get that under the lock there. There we are. I'm going to have to switch brushes, I think. That one's got the odd stray bristle on it, and it's going to go onto the metal if I'm not careful. You'll also notice as well that I just use it straight out of the pot there. Now, I will normally, as Duncan has told me, thin my paints, but I don't want it too thin because then it runs the risk of running and pooling on the metal, and that would be a nightmare. I'd have to start the metal again then and do both of those layers. So I'd rather go a little bit thicker on the wood and not risk that happening. Wipe a bit off there. There we go. So that's those three done. They're looking pretty sweet on this side anyway. Oh, there's a nice thumbprint on that one. Lovely. Then, although we're not using the elite arms now, we will be. So let's get those ones done. Let's get that under there. Now I've gone onto the metal there, so I'll quickly wash the brush out. This is another plus point about the acrylics, is that you can often get them off as well. So there we go. So that is that one. That one. I'll probably get in there a little bit more underneath the strap. There we are. That one. That one. That one. That one. To the side. Oh, actually, did I do all the butts where they were holding them? A little bit more missing there. Getting the lock there. The only one I did properly was the one that I didn't do the hand of. So there you go. That sounds about right. So go on here, try and get in between those fingers. Yes, John, I am. I'm a huge fan of these contrast paints. I think they're they are good for doing certain roles, and it depends what you want to achieve with them. For me, it's about getting figures on the tabletop as quickly as possible, but I don't want them to look rubbish. I don't want to be embarrassed about how they look. So for me, they give you that highlight and that base layer in one go. It's not as good as if I'd done it, by hand and picked out all the highlights myself. And the dark blue, I've noticed it can go a bit blotchy, but for speed, I don't think you can beat it, to be honest. The flesh I'm also getting more into as I'm using it. Oh, that's terrible. That's gone right over the metal layer. Oh dear. See if I can get that out. There we go. I think I've rescued that there. Rusty, you use acrylic medium. Yes, no, that is very good as well. In fact, with the contrast paints, they do say you're supposed to thin them down with medium. You can use floor polish as medium, or obviously Games Workshop sell one as well if you want to splash out. I've got some somewhere, but I think it's downstairs, to be honest. But yes, no, medium is definitely better than water. The way medium works is it separates out the pigments, but it doesn't dilute them. I mean, it does dilute them a little bit, but not anywhere near as much as water does. So you maintain the vibrancy of the colour, but it spreads a lot easier. I also find as well, you can push the paint around with a medium as well. So it's very good for things like washers, like pin washing and things like that, where you don't necessarily want to wash a huge area. You just want to wash a small part. I tend to find mediums quite useful for that as well. I did 2 battalions of Austrians with contrast paints in average 2 weeks each. Yeah, man, absolutely. I've my brother, he needed some gloves. So that's a bit of a random story, this one. He needed some gloves for work, and I'd got taken some. Well, I'd been given some, shall we say, for my work. So I left them outside for him to come and collect. And as he's got some white spray, he said, "Oh, if you want any figures undercoating, then let me know." So I gave him 2 boxes of Victrix. I think he meant like 10 figures or something, but I gave him 2 boxes of Victrix Austrians, and he has undercoated them for me, which is very, very, very kind of him. And I'm looking forward to getting those back so I can use the contrast whites on them. So that's all of those muskets done. I think that's those muskets finished now, to be honest. So we can start looking at getting these bad boys off the sprue, I think. I'm trying to think what we've still got to do. We've still got the brass to do, so that's fine. And the packs, I still need to do that strap there, the 2 straps there, and then the straps that hold the greatcoat on, 3 of those on each one. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Once they're off the sprue, I can then look at base coating the gourd or the wicker or the water canteen, and we can do that when they're off the sprue, because they're a little bit sort of jammed under there at the moment. They're going to be quite difficult to get to. So I'm going to use my super high-tech palette here, which is an old resealable bag, the bottom of which has fallen out, as I discovered after I put a load of stuff in it. And I'm just going to mix up this this brass. If you saw the second video, the one we did on Saturday, then you'll have seen I did this then. Basically, this is it's a bit too red, this this brass for me. So I wanted it to be a little bit more tinny. So let's get that in there. That's probably a little bit too tinny though, so we'll get a bit more brass. It's just about finding the shade that you want it to be. Now, as it is, I'm going to do the Shako plate with this first. I'm going to try in a larger area. There we go. I'm also going to need to do the buttons and the chin scales with these as well. So, having used my rough and ready brush to mix the paint, and having used it to test it out, I'm pretty happy with that so far. I'm going to switch to a detail brush. That's why I mixed up quite a bit. Obviously, you don't want to be using your fine pointed brushes to be mixing up paints if you can avoid it. So let's get these buttons done. Now with the buttons, it's not as difficult as it sounds, because, or as you might think. And that's because basically the buttons are all in the same place for everyone. So once you find out where they are, you can paint them And if they're not there for some reason, or you can't see them, if you've painted over them or you've accidentally shaved them off on your mold line cleaning or whatever, you know where the button's supposed to be. So just do a little dot there, and it's fine. That button there is half covered by the strap. This guy here, you can see he's got no head. He is destined to be a voltigeur. I just mentioned that earlier on, I think. So we'll get him done at the same time. Now spun it round just so I can get in underneath where the front of the coat is. It's a bit rough and ready, this one. You can see that he's going to need a strap on his arms doing. That's okay though. And bum, bum, bum. These up there. These up there. There's chin scales. So this is like a little metal interlocking like plates that covered up the Shako cord and just meant that it was less likely to be pulled off your head. It provided a little bit of protection on the cheeks. I'm not really sure how much. I'm sure if there's reenactors out there who've worn them, you'll be able to tell me. But if a light cavalryman was galloping past you and then back swung his sabre in your face, I'm not entirely sure how useful they'd be. In fact, they could end up being driven into a wound. So I can imagine them actually being a net negative. But I don't know. So we'll just dot these. Again, it's three buttons per cuff. Sometimes some of them I can't really see where they're supposed to be, but you just sort of dot in the rough area, and I think you're good to go. Just use a side of the brush on that one. These ones are quite prominently modelled on, actually, the Perry's ones. That's not too bad. Because the arm faces the sprue, it means that they can get that detail on. If the arms were connected to the bodies, so they were on the side of the sprue, they'd be very difficult to get cast on. And even if they were cast on, they'd probably end up being covered in a mould line. So that's one of the benefits of having these multi-part kits. It's certainly one of the reasons why I quite like the Victrix kits as well. They're very fiddly. They're a real pain in the arse to put together, but you do get that extra nice bit of detail on things like buttons and things like that. Considering they're such an old kit, they're still one of the most detailed ones out there. Folk, these are the new Perry miniatures. They are they're not really poles. I have converted some of the Shako plates and ignored some possible uniform discrepancies, just to call them poles. The heads, the chapkas, they're from Warlord. So I just washed my detailing brush out. I've still got a bit of brass to do though. I've got the short swords on these packs. So let's quickly do those. I've also got the chapka sunburst to do. I can do those while I've got this mix done. So I'll grab those there in the front. Again, you can be a bit more rough with these because the detail's quite large and you're not necessarily worried about getting on any other part. On here, so wash these. As I was doing the chapters rather, I also did some of the hair on the back as well. So 4 of them have got the black hair. 4 of them have got brown hair using the brown contrast. So these 4 are black haired. These 2 are brown. So I'm going to have to carry that over onto the moustaches when I do those as well. Make sure that they have the same coloured hair and moustache. This guy doesn't have a moustache. He's obviously only a young grenadier. So there we go. That's those done. Lovely. So the next thing we need to do is the white. Now I did notice that a couple of these straps were looking a bit rough. So I'm going to get my detail-y brush out again. Now, as you can see, my white is really drying up. It's very much on its last legs, but hey, as long as it still works. I'm going to get some out of the bottom of the pot, and we'll get that up in the lid for ease of access. That's why I keep these bits of spare sprue lying around, because they're really useful for doing things like this. There's a real problem with the Games Workshop paints, is they do dry out. Now this has turned into a bit of a, almost like a gel. It's a bit weird, but you need to keep it moist. If I don't, then it's going to dry out on the brush, and that's going to ruin it. So for all those people out there that say, "Oh, I don't like Games Workshop paints," Vallejo ones are better because they don't dry out and things like that. I've got a lot of sympathy for you there. The Games Workshop ones certainly do. I'm not going to try and pretend they don't. There. I later started using a grey on the uniforms for applying the white, which I've done that before. Yeah, so it's one of those things, isn't it? You live and learn. I tend now, before I was using the contrast paints, I tend to spray the base colour. So I'll use, for argument's sake, Dragon Red if I'm doing Brits. Then I'll wash them with Caribou Crimson, which is the red shade from Games Workshop, and then go from there. Or for the French, I'll use a mid blue, wash with dark blue, and then go from there as well. But that's what I was tending to. I might still go back to that. The contrasts are a bit of an experiment for the Poles here, so I'm certainly going to do the rest of this army with the contrasts, and then we'll see how they look on the tabletop. I'm starting a Bavarian army as well, and those don't have a contrast for the blue, so I'm going to have to do those in the old school style. So I'm still going to be keeping my hand in with that as well. Also, the figures I'm using are the Hat 28mm ones, and they don't have the detail incised in them that you'd need for the contrast to really work, I don't think. So that's why I'm going to be using just white undercoats, and then or probably grey. I'll probably spray them grey, and then we'll go up from there. So that strap's covered by the bread. Oh, it's not. I can just see it peeking outside there. Let's get that done. On this side as well, yeah. Well, it was nice and overcast this morning. I thought, oh, it won't be too bad. The sun's not going to blaze through the window and mean that no one can see anything. But it seems to be coming around. So we're in a bit of a race against the sun here, then, aren't we? Let's get this done. I always find backpacks one of the most soul-destroying parts of figures. I don't know why. I think it's because I've spent so much effort painting the figure. The backpack just seems like an extra. It's like you've got to the finish line, and someone says, "Oh no, actually, like the marathon's not quite over yet. You've got another 500 meters to do." You think, well, you know, I've just done 26 miles or 26 kilometers, or whatever it is. 26 miles, I think, isn't it? So another 500 meters doesn't make much difference, but he does. It's that extra 500 meters that you just say, "Oh, I wasn't prepped for this." I find that with backpacks, they are always an extra effort for me. In fact, my Russian army, I've painted all the backpacks separately, and I've got a pack of them somewhere. I've got like a whole box full of painted backpacks that I just can't be bothered to get around to gluing onto the figures yet. So that's a project that I should probably get on with. Alright, so I've just got 2 more packs worth of straps to do, and then I'm just going to have to disappear for a second and open the window because it's getting very hot in here. But in fact, I'll do the straps before I open the window. So I'm just touching up the straps where the blue's gone over them. So here you might be able to see the blue's gone over the shoulder strap there. So I'm going to do that now, just to tidy that up a little bit. Same on the other side. There we go. So I think that's going to be about it for these chaps. I think they're pretty good to go. That one up there like so. Paint over a bit that's smudged onto him there. Same with this guy. But yeah, I think contrasts or no contrasts, I think white straps are always going to be the bane of the Napoleonic painter. Priming with white should help with Austrians. Yeah, I mean, it should do. That's certainly what mine have been undercoated. And then I'm going to wash them with the apothecary white. Although there is a large argument to say that it should actually be a cream rather than a white. But I think I'm going to leave mine the traditional Wargamers white, I think. So these are done here. Let me see. I can probably do a little bit more white on here. So this is just the strap of the muskets. Move it into camera shot. There we go. There, and then other side. This will just help them pop a little bit as well by making it a very, very bright white. There we go. He's already done. Oh, I haven't done the bottom of his stock. I try and fix these gaps as I go. It does take more time, but it does make sure that they get seen and fixed. I tend to find if I think, oh, I'll go back to them later, I never actually do. So I always think it's better to get them done there and then. I've got another flesh here because I've got that bucolic hand that I missed. There we are. So quickly grab that one. Right, now, because these are the guys in the different coloured trousers, I only want one to go with this these guys. And what I want is, I want one of the poses that I haven't already got, if possible. So, sorry, I just had a large bird fly out the window there. Right, so I'm going to go with this chap here. We've not had him yet. Now, what I haven't done on any of the guys, actually, is washed the Shako plates. So I'll quickly do that while we're here. So this is just using Agrax hair shade. So I use a brown to wash this. You could use a sepia. That would make it keep its redness. I'm trying to get the redness out of it, so that's why I'm using this one. I'm actually going to be using a very bright copper shortly, almost a gold, to highlight them with. Oh no, I've already done these. To highlight them with, and you'll see the difference that makes in a second. But I can do that while they're already on the model, so I don't need to worry too much about that. So these guys here. Just seen I've missed a bit of the Shako plates on these grenadiers, so let's go back and quickly grab those. Now that's not ideal because that's not the mix that I made with the steel, but it's going to have to do for now. I can't make up that mix again for every small part like that. So that's that one there. Love it. So I'm going to cut this guy off. Where are my trusty clippers? There we are. So try and get it as close as you can to the figure. There we go. And then this side. And there we go. Now there's going to need to be a little bit of touching up when he's built. That is inevitable. So we don't need to worry too much about that. I've just seen one of the straps is going to need doing. And then we'll give him a musket. So we'll give him this one here. That's his musket, that's his arm. And then he needs a pack without a... now, looking at his belt, this is something that I didn't really do last time. Looking at his belt, he's got no like bottles or anything like that hanging from it. So, I can give him one that's got quite a large one. This one here with the gourd, that's quite a big one. So I'll give him that one. And hopefully it'll save another one from looking like he's carrying all like goods for everyone. So there we go. So I'm going to get my extra sharp knife, this one, and I'm just going to clean up any bits that were on. There we go. And this one here. There we are for that one. I'm going to use my slightly blunter knife to trim off his arms and his legs. So that's his arm, make that flat. That's his other arm. So get that nice and flat as well. And then the base under here. So that's cool. You can stand up. So we've obviously got that nice and flat. Get that out of the way. Now my trusty super glue. Let's see if it remains unclogged. It has, lovely. There's a little bit there I'm going to take out. There we go. So there we go. And once again, we want the arms. So for anyone who didn't see the video yesterday, we want the arms to be going opposite to the legs. Now, not sort of super extreme, but enough so it looks like he's swinging his arms against his, you know, in the opposite way to his legs as soldiers actually march. So we can go with this one. We can go like so. Now, because his back leg's fairly straight, we can either have him forward or back. I think I'm going to have him. Let me see. Let's have a look. His arm a bit low. I think I'm going to have him slightly back, and that's assuming that the pack lets me put it there. I think it probably will do. So we'll have it slightly back. Let's get that one on there as well. So there we go. And let's get the pack. So a super sharp knife. Cut away from you. This side as well. There we go. Slightly blunter knife. Now this is where those mould lines come in. There's quite a pronounced one there. I'll just quickly shave that off. Now it may sound like, well, you know, I've just shaved off this line that we've painted. What's the point? But we're going to have to touch it up anyway from here where the sprue's been. So just having to that extra little line doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. And I think, you know, all right, yep, we're going to lose detail on that part as well. But as I've said before, these are wargaming miniatures. These aren't crystal brush winners. So I'm not too fussed about that. I think if someone picks up your figures and looks at it, if the worst criticism they can make is you've lost a little bit of detail off the side of the pack, then I think you've done a pretty good job. Is that right? Prime with the bone colour spray. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, bone's the alternative. You watch the Austrian cavalry video and learn about Mrs. Bonaparte and her extra kids. Yeah, no, that was a nice little factoid that I found out. Actually, I quite enjoyed that. I can't imagine that her marriage to Napoleon was particularly happy. So, I mean, I don't know if it was particularly unhappy, but it was certainly a dynastic marriage rather than a love match. So I don't know. I think it's quite nice that she got the opportunity to marry and have kids with a dashing hussar that was perhaps more to her personal taste than Napoleon was. So I've got that good back there. So hopefully I'm nowhere near where there should be any glue. So I don't need to worry about this. I can get that banged out quite quickly. I'll pop him there. Right, I've just put something over the window, which will hopefully stop the direct sun coming through. It's absolutely terrified a wood pigeon that was sat on the dormer, so that's unfortunate for him, but never mind. So let's do these sides here where we had to take the mould line off. There we go. Now with this cutting mat, it's quite funky because it's divided into into centimeter squares. That's the word I'm trying to think of. I can put them on here in a sort of way they're going to be on the base. I'm actually going to use a 60mm by 40mm base to base these, so I could base them in 6s. And I can move them around on here and think how I'm going to actually have them on the final base. So that's quite nice. I quite like that. Right, now, I've also got 2 more. Sorry, I should put them on the thing. I've also got these 2 more packs here that are finished. I mean, you know, nearly finished. I've got the bread and stuff to do. But these guys have all got the brown trousers, so I don't necessarily want to give the other 2 guys in this company brown trousers as well. I'd rather spread them out through the unit. So luckily, I've got 2 guys from our original sprue here. These 2 chaps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them off, and then we're going to have those guys on the to finish off this company. So I'm going to use these 2 and these 2 packs and tails, and I'll also use 2 muskets from this sprue as well. And then that'll give us our first complete company. So let's chop these boys off. So this is one of the bonuses about when you're painting figures. Even if you're not going to use them straight away, it means that when you come around to using them in the future, you can just clip them off the sprue and they're good to go straight away. That's one of the big pluses about just doing everything all at once, rather than just painting the bare minimum of what you need. So that's cool. So what I can also do now as well is get rid of this. Probably cut that off there. There. So this now, that can go into a storage. That can go into a bag with these 2 packs. And it means that in future, I can just grab those out of the storage and I'm good to go straight away. So I've got these 2 guys off here. Let's get these 2 packs ready. So this one and this one. And this one. And that one. No, I'm just working in natural light here, John. Unfortunately, where I am, the sun comes round the window. It starts off sort of over there, and then it starts off there, and then comes round and sets over there. So it's nice. It means you get sun most of the day, but it means you get direct sun shines through the window, which makes which A, makes the room incredibly hot, and B, it also means it's not great for showing off camera footage because it's too bright. The direct sunlight just washes everything out, so it's not great. So there we go. I'm going to use the extra sharp one for this. Get that on there as well. Now for these ones, I'm actually going to do the packs first, and the reason is because these guys have got more bling on their packs here. I want to make sure that the arms aren't going to get in the way of the packs, so that's why I'm doing them first. Now this guy, his right arm needs to be swinging backwards, so I'm going to have to think about that one. And this guy's right arm as well. So which of these sticks out the least? I think it's probably this this wicker basket one. So he'll go on the guy's arms swinging right back, and the other one will go on the other one. So cut those off there. super health and safety-tastic cutting there. Don't do that at home, kids. Cut away from your fingers at all times. In fact, put that there. Right, where's my super glue? Put that on there. So I'm putting quite a big splodge in the hole that's in there, and I'm putting another splodge a little bit higher up, just to give it that extra support. I'll put that on there. It's fine. And then this one here. Again, bigger splodge in the hole, smaller one up there on the shoulders. Now these guys hold they've got their packs very low on their bodies actually. Certainly much lower than the other Perry's ones. So they're almost like 90s school kids who had their school bags down by their bums. Pitt, it was most likely better than see their daughter exiled to a little island. Yeah, it probably was. And to be honest, I don't think they were super thrilled with her marrying Napoleon in the first place. So I'm sure they were not too bad. I mean, he wasn't just some sort of private soldier hussar. He was a count. So yeah, I'm sure they weren't too upset about it. Right, now we've got 2 more sets muskets here to cut off. So we've got this musket and this musket. What time are we on? 1 o'clock. Right, okay, that's not too bad. This one off there. Oh dear, that's made a bit of a mess of that one. And then we'll cut this one there. So that's the 2 sets of arms. Again, I'll get my super sharp knife. Now this here, that's gouged at a little bit. That's one of the problems with using blunt clippers. So I'm going to need to either get some new clippers or just be very, very careful with using them in future. That's that bit off there. Now there's still a bit of a ridge there, so let's get rid of that. And there we go. So this is exciting. We're getting to the first company completely finished. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, this is the sharp. The blunt clippers have absolutely ragged that arm. That's terrible. Right. Okay. Luckily though, I'm going to be able to cover that over with a bit more contrast paint in a bit. So let's get these arms glued on. Try not to glue myself to the figure. That'd be a good start. So we can see that this guy's this leg here, his right leg, his left as we look at him, is forward. So his arm's going to be back. So his left arm needs to be slightly forward. So we'll bang that one on there like so. Oh. Should probably glue his arm on one at a time, really, shouldn't we? But well, I'm too impatient for that. This guy's slightly looking to his left, and he's got his mouth open. I'm going to put a bit more glue on there, I think. So what I've got an idea of where I want him to be in the company. So we pop him on like so. His other arm's looking nice. So I'll pop him there for now. And then we'll do the other arm. Let's try these one at a time. So this arm here. Now his right arm can be forward or back. Probably slightly forward. So let's get his musket more straight. Now, when your musket holding arm goes forward, you're probably not going to, sorry, when it goes back, you're probably not going to swing it that far back. So straight down is probably as far back as it will go. And this guy, his arm needs to be forwards. Now, he looks a little bit stiff like that, I think. So I'm going to have his arm swung a little back. So he still looks pretty stiff. Not super impressed with that one. But we'll have him slightly forward like that. Now, they're going to need touching up in a bit. So I'm just going to let that super glue dry. While we're doing that, I'm going to quickly knock up an orange. And we'll get their pom-poms done. Now, there are 6 companies in a French battalion. Same in a Polish one. They had the same organisation. And each company had a different coloured pom-pom. You had the 2 elite companies, the Grenadiers and the Voltigeurs. Well, not the Voltigeurs, the light company. Actually, yeah, no, it would be the Voltigeurs, yeah. They had red for the Grenadiers and green for the Voltigeurs. So you had 4 what are called centre companies or fusilier companies. One of those had orange pom-poms. That's the one we're doing here. One of them had purple. One of them had a very pale blue, and then one of them had a very dark green. So when you're doing your battalion, that's quite a nice way. And it's why I base mine on 6 bases of 6, because it means that each base is a separate company. And while that does absolutely nothing in the rules, it just means that it's easier for me to paint them. And they've all got the same colour pom-pom, and it means that I can... when I'm getting the figures out of my box, I can be like, all right, so this battalion's missing a purple company, or it's missing a green company, so I can then sort out my battalions roughly as they should be. But I'm doing the orange one here because that was the easiest colour to knock up. So there we go. So we've got 6 guys done there. I'm going to clear this off. Let's get rid of all that. So we've got the 6 figures completed. Hopefully the camera's going to focus on the board here. So we've got these 3 guys here. Now these were the ones that... Oh, so we've got these 3 guys here, and then these 3 here. So that's going to be our first finished company. There we are. Get it on the screen. Might help. Now the first 3 that we did, I want those guys to be the front rank. So these 2 and him were the ones who we've done today. So because these 3 were the OG, I'm going to have them as the front rank. I'm going to have these guys as the second rank. Now he's slightly turning to his left and shouting. So I'm going to put him there on the right. The guy with the brown trousers, he's going to look a bit daft if he goes in the middle. So I'm going to have him off to one side. And then we've got these guys here. We've also mixed up where the coloured shakos are as well, or the covered shakos. So that's cool. You don't necessarily want all the guys who are doing the same thing stood next to each other or anything like that. In fact, were those the first ones that we started off with? Not sure. But yeah, so that's where we're going to have them. Now I'm going to get the quick brown. We're going to wash that good, and we're also going to wash the other bottles. So that's him there. He was definitely one of the first ones. Let's get that good done. He was as well. Now that's going to be metal, that one. I also need to do his pack. I can do that over here. I can also get his bread done as well. There we go. bit pale, that bread. I'm going to have to go back over that one, I think. I was hoping that just the brown will give it a nice bready colour, but it hasn't, so that's fine. There we go. So this is very much just the final details of these this company now. I'm hoping that we can get them all ready to be based very, very shortly. I'm just going to let the glue finish drying on them because they need a couple of touch-ups with the blue, and there's a danger that we're going to go into to areas that we've got super glue there, so I need to make sure that glue's dried. So that's those guys done. They still need the blue touching up, and that's fine. We can do that shortly. Like I say, I'm going to wait for the glue to dry before we do that. So I'm going to pop those there. He's like that, so I'm going to have to swap those two round so the two coloured Shakos aren't one in front of the other. There we go, parfait. So I've got them in the positions that they're going to be on their on the final base. So happy with that at the moment. Like I say, I'm waiting for the super glue to dry properly. So let's move this back into the center a little bit. I'm waiting for the super glue to dry. So while that's going down, we can get back to the command sprue, and we can sort out the gold on here. So back to my old faithful brown wash. First things first, the eagle. Let's get that one washed. And as you can see, it really brings out, well, you might be able to see, it's really brought out all the details on that eagle. It's really nicely carved on. So there we go. Bang that on there, very nice. The other main thing is going to be the officer's gorget here, because that's quite a large area that's got a little bit of detailing in it. A bit too much on there, it's gone onto his coat. So let's suck that up. Try again. There we go. We had gold on his saber. And this gorget down here. And where's the officer's tails? Here we are. So quickly bang some gold on there. The side. Love it. Right. So let's get the standard bearer done. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly adjust the cloth I've put on the window just to stop this area here from being super sunny. Right, hopefully that'll do us for the rest of the session, but we'll see. Right, so I want to get the standard bearer done, and the reason I want to do the standard bearer is because I want to show you how I do my flags. Now, someone much more sensible than me once said that the most important parts of figures are faces, flags, and bases. So when you look at unit figures from the other side of the table, that's the three things that draw your eye: faces, flags, and bases. So I want to show people how I do them. So let's get all the parts out. Not the eagle, that's super small. I've just washed it as well. So it needs time to dry, and I don't want to risk losing it. And then we've got the standard bearer here as well. Now, as you can see, he's got no head at the moment. That's because I'm not entirely sure what head I'm going to give him. I might end up giving him a chapka, or I might not. Now, most officers in the Vistula Legion would wear a bicorn, which is why this chap's wearing one. So I might also look for a spare bicorn and give him that as well. I'll have to root through my bits box for that. But as it stands, I'm going to focus on the flag anyway, and the head can come later. That's not necessarily the end of the world. So I'm going to clean up his base, clean up his arms. Right, now I'm going to glue his tails on first. So they go in there. I need to clean those up. Where's my super sharp knife? Right. How's it? Oh, we're pit. Yes, that's 28mm. This is the Perry stuff. How else is the thing going? Paul was married to Louise for political purposes. And certainly not for love. Yes, now that's right. It really, he was still in love with Josephine, really. Although he'd, I think it was a different kind of love. I think it was more lust when he was younger. And I think they'd sort of grown accustomed to each other. But yes, no, it was certainly a political marriage rather than a love one. The Prince of Rome was held as a bargaining chip. Okay, I will take your word on that one. I don't really know, to be honest. It's a whole sort of area of the wars I'm not hugely knowledgeable of, to be honest. The treaties and things like that. Although the events of Tilsit, I do quite enjoy. Right, so I've got him. He's good to go. His tails are being glued on. Now the flag, this one here, is a Vistula Legion one, and I'm going to glue that on before the pole is attached to the body. I've painted the pole blue, so it's a very pale blue. I just wanted to show you how I do my flags. Now, the first thing to do is get your flag, cut it out as I've done, and then very loosely fold it. These are from GMB Designs, by the way. Good local company, so I'm very happy to support them. If you ever want to sponsor me, GMB, then help out a local YouTuber. I'm more than happy with that. So there we go. So what I've done there is that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I'm also 100% serious as well. Is you've got these areas here. Let me see if it'll focus on them. They're the studs that attach it to the flagpole. Now you've got two sets of those, so that's where the crease should be. Now, as you can see, I've only creased it very loosely, but if I put it down, it should create the basic shape that we need it to. So there we are. Now I'm going to get my super glue, and I'm going to run it very, very finely along the pole, almost to the extent of there's no glue coming out. It's just the glue that's sort of in the nozzle. It's the like the surface tension of the glue almost gets it on there. So there we go. And then get the flag onto here, drop it down, and then hold it in place. Now, there's a little bit of time before that super glue holds, but not much. So you've got to be quick. You also need to get a pair of tweezers and crimp the flag as well. So I'm going to hold it in place there. I'm going to crimp it with the tweezers to make it really hug the pole. So I'm just going down the length of it, and I'm squeezing just to create a crease and get it held around the pole like so. So that's now attached there. That's quite nice. I'm pretty happy with that. So if we look in the close-up, we can see that that's pretty well attached to the flag. Good to go. Now I can actually glue that on and then riffle the flag around the guy's head. But as we've seen, this guy doesn't have a head. What he does have, though, is a huge bit of flash on his arm. So let's get rid of that, because that would stop it gluing to his body. Right, cool. So in fact, I am going to glue it to his body now, because that will give us a little bit more to work with when it comes to actually waving the flag about. So his left arm goes across his body like so. Is that a bit of flash on his arm there? Yes, it is. I should have checked that before I glued it on. So let's try that one again, shall we? So that's the arm that comes across his body. As you can see, there's a big bit of flash there I had to cut off. That's fine. I can go over that in a second. We've got some... I'm going to pop a little bit of glue on his wrist. That should help brace the flag. There, because this piece is now very heavy, so it needs that extra support. I have occasionally been known to glue the flag to a guy's head to give that extra support as well. I'm going to use the back of my knife here to straighten out that arm, because that is a bit of a wonky angle. So there we are. Got that in there. It's fitted onto the wrist quite nicely. So there we go. And I'm going to leave him to dry. I'm going to leave him like that for now. Shouldn't take too long. But I'm going to leave him there. And I'm going to go with the Leviathan blue to here. Your Wargaming Club plays Black Power in 170 seconds. Yeah, you know, there's nothing wrong with 1/72 scale at all. I am a big fan of Zvezda miniatures. I think some of their 20mm stuff is better than a lot of 28mm stuff. I really like Zvezda. I also like Hat as well, although less so recently. I think they've gone backwards a little bit actually. A company that have really shocked me with the quality of their stuff recently is Strelitz. They're fantastic. They're not. They're dreadful, but they're getting a lot better than they used to be. So yeah, no, there's some great 20mm manufacturers out there, or 1/72 scale. Yeah, absolutely. I've got no problem with playing in 1/72 scale at all. In fact, over to my left is my dad's Napoleonic collection I've got stored up here. And there's like a gazillion 1/72 scale figures in there. So yeah, no, he's a big fan of it as well. And to be honest, you can use a smaller table to play it on as well. So it's useful for home gaming, whereas the 28mm stuff is useful for exhibition gaming or things like that. So I'm just moving this around so I can see. Oh, that's good. Let me make sure that's back in shot. Yes, it is. Let's touch this up on his arm. Very nice. It's nice. All right. Now, one of the reasons I was putting off doing the rest of this flag is I don't know what I've done with my PVA glue. Hang on. Oh, no, right, there it is. All right, okay. So that's it for the this company of figures here. They are now good to be based. But we're going to go back to the standard bearer. Let's get a bit of PVA glue out. There we go. Now, as you can see, I've not got a huge amount there. That's because you don't need a huge amount for this. So I've got a very small amount. It's only a small flag. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. Now, this is a little bit of an art. It's a bit of a trial and error. The key is you're better off to have too little water than too much. The reason being, we are dealing with paper here. And if you soak the paper, then it ends up going transparent. And that's not what we want. The GMB paper is actually pretty good. It's quite thick. It's a good paper stock. But in spite of that, you still don't want to put too much on because it's going to go transparent. Now, what it's also doing here is it's curling as well. You probably wouldn't be able to see that on the camera, but I can feel it pressing against my finger that's supporting it at the back here. Make sure you get to the corners as well, because the last thing you want is for it to spring open. So I've painted the middle. Now I'm going around the edges. Lovely. So now it's just a simple process of squeezing it together and then crinkling it with your fingers to make it look like it's fluttering. So I'm just bending it here like this. This is a standard shape for me. I'm going to turn that corner back. I'm going to turn this one back as well. So there we go. So that's a nice three-dimensional looking flag there. Now, as you can see, if I show you from underneath, it's sealed most of the way around. There's little bits that aren't. So that's okay. What you can do is you can get your brush and then you can jab it into the gap there. Get your tweezers again. Squeeze it closed. Now for me, the bit when you get like this little area here at the top where the two halves of the paper meet, if there's a gap there, that sends me to absolute distraction. There's not much I obsess about when it comes to painting, but that is absolutely one of them. So let's make sure that that's gone as well. There we go. Now, I'm just going to hold that while it dries a little bit. As you can see, there's, let me get it up to focus on. There's a white rim around the top of the flag. You can see it around the top of the flag there. It'll probably be on the bottom of the flag there. Yeah, there you go. That's quite a big one on the bottom there. That's fine. All it means is I'm going to have to go back over it with some paint and cover that up. You're always going to have it around the tops anyway, from where you've cut the paper. So let me see. Now this, I've not tried it with this blue. This might, oh, hang on, I need to wash the paint out first. That'd be a good idea. This might be a little too dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a tiny bit at the bottom of the flag here. And see what that looks like. Now I think that's too dark, so I'm not going to do any more today. I've got some more medium blues downstairs I can use on that one. But that's it. That's how I do my standards. Now, he is good to go on a base. He still needs quite a lot of work. His epaulets need doing. The bottom of the flag needs doing. And he needs a head, would be the most important part. I think his strap might need doing as well. I might do that now while he's here. But he still needs quite a lot of work doing to him. But he could be glued on a base, and I could do that while he's on the base. In fact, I might do that now. Just covers that up. Ah, right, okay, this thing at the bottom. I was wondering what that was. That's supposed to be the standard cup that goes on the bottom of his strap there. So I might have to bend that back and glue it to his body. I'll do that in a second when the white's dry. So that's the standard bearer done. Very nice. He would be standing there. Where would he be? There. Now, with the standard bearers, I always put them in the back rank because the standard's the most important part, and that goes over the head. So at the front, I'll have officer. I'll have sapper, officer, drummer. Then I'll have eagle guard, either side of him. But for now, this is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to base these guys. Now, I've been prepping the bases already. These are bases from war bases. They're from. And what I've got just being flattened underneath them at the moment are these things here. These are magnetic strips. And these are from magnetic displays. Now, the good thing about these is that they're self-adhesive. And I've gone for ones that are 20 mil wide. I can't remember how long it is. It's something like 4 meters or something. And the 20 mil wide ones, there's enough for you to cut them in half and then peel off the backing and do on each side of these bases. Now, the bases I'm using are 60 mil on the long edge, or 3 centimeters, and 40 mil, or 2 centimeters on the short edge. So that gives a 20 by 20 for each one of the figures. Now, a lot of people, they only use a 15 millimeter frontage. So that would be 45 millimeters by 40. And those are the plastic and the green plastic ones you get in the boxes. That's what they go with for their frontage. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Most of my opponents at the club, they use the smaller frontage. But I much prefer having the extra 5 mil. I think it shows off the figures quite nicely. That said, these 28 mil Bavarians that I'm wanting to do, they're very slight because they're hat models. I'll probably do those on the smaller frontage, and that'll mean that they look a bit more tightly packed, which I think is quite nice. John Chrome, I line my flags with tin foil. Yeah, no, that's another way of doing it. In fact, I often make them out of tin foil if I'm making the flag from scratch. But for these ones, I don't tend to bother. I just think the thickness of the flag, of the paper itself, is usually enough. So yeah, no, that's fine, Rusty. Yeah, whatever works for you, buddy. That's the thing with this painting, is I'm absolutely not saying this is the way to do it. This is only ever going to be, this is how I do it. It works for me. If you've got a way that works for you, then absolutely go with that, mate. If it's what you like doing and it's a way that you are used to doing and it works for you, then absolutely go with that, mate. No, there's no issues there. I thought the whole world played in 20 mil. Yeah, no, it does seem that way sometimes, doesn't it? But yeah, no, I think there's plenty of other scales out there. Black powder in 15 mil, I think would work very well as well, actually. But I just tend to play it in 28 because that's what I've got. So, right, so that's my 60 by 40 base. Now, I could use super glue to glue these on, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to use PVA glue. I'm not going to drop the lid on the floor because that would be very silly. Let's get some more PVA glue out here. This is just a ginormous PVA glue from Wilko's. I think it was about £6 or £7, but it's lasted me for absolutely ever. So it was a very good buy. So let's get that on to here. Put that back on my shelf. Right. So I start at the back, and the reason I start at the back is it stops from getting in the way when I'm gluing later ones on. So let's try and have him marching forwards and not sideways. The guy with the brown trousers, it's a bit of a shame that he's in the second rank. Normally I would try and get him in the front rank. But as this is a rather special base, being the first one that we've ever done together, then the first 3 figures have to have pride of place in the front rank, don't they, really? So he can go on there. Now, try not to have them in a dead straight line. Try and have them slightly staggered. That's what I've done there. I can just see his strap's going to need a bit of work doing to it, but that's fine. Up in there. And then this last one. to... Oh, there. So there we go. That is the first company of the Vistula Legion finished. I'm going to swizzle him around a little bit. So there we go. We've got guy in the middle who's crying out an order, I'm sure. We've got the chap with the covered shakos there on the opposite corners, so they balance each other quite nicely. And then the guy with the brown trousers, he's slipping off the base because I picked him up too soon. He's back there like so. I'm going to slightly move him over just so you can see the trousers. In fact, I'm going to move them the other way so you can see the trousers. There we go. There we are. Lovely. So he's going to stay there. I'm going to pop them in that direct sunlight that's been the absolute bane of me for the period we've been doing these. You're right. Well painted Bavarians do look great, but I'm hoping that mine will look adequate because they're not going to be that well painted, I'm sure. Let's see. Put them on there. So I'm just prepping up another base with the magnetic strips now. This is the base I'm going to glue the standard bearer to. Now he is not in any way finished. I don't want you to think that I think he is, because he really isn't. But the idea is that by gluing him to this base, it's going to keep him and the flag secure and safe. It means they're not going to get damaged. So I can pop him there because I know exactly where he's going to go on the base. He can go on there, and then any more painting that needs doing on him, I can do while he's on the base. So for the last thing we're going to look at today, I've been quite keen to see how these are going to look. I'm going to just quickly use the last two of these leftover backpacks, and I'm going to do the arms for them as well that were on this sprue here, on our original sprue. And I'm going to get two of the Grenadier Company done as well. So I'm going to quickly do my these buttons are going to need doing. Now, as I say, normally I would suggest that you do them all, but for today I'm going to pop him out of the way so he doesn't get damaged. I'm just going to do the ones that I'm actually going to use. So that's those ones there. Button. Put that there. So as with yesterday, this first company here, I'm going to get some photos of them. I'm going to pop them on the Facebook page. So if you're not on the Facebook page, then that's a good excuse to head over there. It's just the same with the channel, Napoleonic Wargaming. It's got LaSalle as the emblem. And it just allows you, like, if there's any information or whatever, then I can bang it on there. Like today's late start, I popped on there. And it just lets you keep up to date with the goings on the channel. I'd like to see a bit more interaction on there. I'd love for people to post what they're working on there, or any cool figures or units or anything that they've done, any good games, anything like that. I know there's quite a few Napoleonic YouTube pages out there, Facebook pages out there. So I get it, but I would like to see a little bit more going on there. I'm just as guilty as anyone. I don't really post much on there either, to be honest. So yeah, no, that's a good excuse to check out the Facebook page. I'll have some pictures of the finished company. I'll have some close-ups of the standard bearer as well. I might have even glued a head on him by then as well. But the idea there is just to see what we've been working on. Oh, hang on, he slipped right around. just see what we've been working on. And, you know, we've gone from them being just undercoated to being glued to their bases. Now, obviously, in the next few weeks, the rest of the battalion will get done, and then they'll all get based. This is going to be the last of the live streams for now, because I'm still at work, unfortunately. I'm back to work tomorrow. But I am hoping that maybe over the bank holidays in May, that we could perhaps do a bit more painting together, a bit more project work. But we'll see how that goes. Obviously, with the current situation, it's a little bit up in the air of what's happening, where everyone's going to be, what everyone's going to be doing. So it appears I did not do these sabers. Very naughty. So let's get these guys out and done. Now, the again, I don't think these are going to be 100% finished, because their backpacks still need a little bit more doing to them, as do their chapkers. Although that said, I might quickly detail the chapkers while they're on the sprue, because I think that's probably going to be easier. So let's clip these two guys off. These two packs off. That one. And that one. I definitely need some new clippers. These are getting a bit blunt. And that one. Where's my bin? There we are. So, as per standard practice, let's get these little bits of flash off the base. And then being very sensible and cutting away from myself. Getting rid of these off the arms. So let's get these packs glued on, and then we can start looking at the chapkers and the arms. I just want to show you a quick thing about the arms for the elite companies. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you do, but you never know. Oh, I need to quickly do these. Short enough there, short enough there. Put away from yourself. There we are. Right, let's get these in. So these are the elite company packs, and we know this because they've got the little, is it going to focus down there? Yeah, they've got the little saber on their backpacks there. So that was a symbol of being in one of the elite companies, or potentially just light infantry as well. I think that's probably why you get so many in the pack, is in case you want to do light infantry. So there we go, that's those. And also, we know there's elite company arms. They're the ones with these on here. These fringed epaulets there. So we've got two sets of these on this sprue as well. So let's get rid of those. There's one. And the other one. Get that off the sprue. This one here. There we go. Right. So pop that in the old bits box. And it means that when we come to doing another company in future, we've already got a set of arms mostly painted for them. They just need finishing up. Let's just clean these up a little bit. Put that over there. There's my sharp knife. There we go. We'll tidy that up with some paint shortly. Same with that bit there. Very carefully. There we go. So again, we look at the positioning of the legs and we match it with the arms. So his arm needs to be back there, and his musket arm needs to be a bit further forward, like so. And then this guy as well. Now, normally I wouldn't do them like this. Normally I do them a company at a time, and I would do all the elite company guys at the same time. But for the purposes of this series, I want to get at least one command figure done. So we've got the standard bearer mostly done. The important parts of him are done anyway. The one company of infantry done, which we've achieved. And now I just want to show you the elite companies as well. So that's him like so. Now the chapkers, they've got a little white band that goes around the middle. So I'm going to quickly get my detailer brush. Where are we? And we'll quickly crash these out. Let's get that knife out of the way. So it's about halfway up, and it goes all the way around. And it's just made me think, actually, there's one last thing that we haven't done on any of the figures yet. I'll come to that in a second. So that band goes all the way around. So I'm going to have an old grizzled grenadier with his chapka there and his big bushy moustache. Very nice. He's probably fought in the wars for and against Austria for years. And then we've also going to have a younger chap with no moustache. He's on the other end of the sprue. So we'll quickly do his chapka as well. And a bit more water. Now let's get that going on. There we are. I noticed that there was a bit on this guy's arm strap here that needed doing. A bit risky, risking my detail brush near the super glue location, but we'll have to hope it's alright. There we go, his arm's a bit too far back. So having done the band around their shakos, this chap being a grenadier, he has a big bushy moustache that I'm sure he's very proud of, and a strap on his chapka down there. Now these you can get with either the Vistula Legion box the Polish Lancer box, or you can order them separately, which is what I did. They were £3 a sprue, I think. I ordered 5 sprues, so that's more than enough to keep me going with the battalions we've got here. I mean, £3 for 6 heads, that's not cheap, but I certainly couldn't sculpt these myself. Now, there is an argument to say that they didn't even wear them, but for me, it's quite an iconic bit of headgear. I think it's a shame to be having a Polish army that doesn't have this, well, as I say, this iconic bit of headwear. Would be a little bit of a wasted opportunity, I think. So it's a bit of a frivolity. You certainly don't need to buy them, but I just thought it was something a little bit cool. I'm with thinning my paints every time I use them, Sam. I dip it in the water, just a very quick dab, and that thins them. Apart from, as I said, when I was doing the muskets, I wanted to keep the paint quite thick because I didn't want it to run onto the metal part. So there is method in my madness. Not a huge amount, admittedly, but there is occasionally. Now, let's get these heads off here. I'm going to glue these on. I'm going to paint the grenadier bits grenadiery. And then I've got one last thing to do on all the figures that we haven't done so far. And then I think we can probably call it a wrap for this series of 3 paint-along hangouts. It'll be just after 2 o'clock then. So that's perfect. I don't know how long we've been going on this one. Probably a couple of hours, is it? Yeah, 2 hours. So now, as I said yesterday, when gluing the heads on, don't glue them straight forward. Glue them so they're looking slightly off to one side or the other. Because if you glue them looking straight forward, they just look a little bit silly. They look a bit like Cybermen or Robot Men. So glue them off to one side a little bit. And I'll be honest, I am super pleased with this. Seeing that chapka on that finished figure, awesome. Really, really pleased. And let's get this guy going on. His head's a bit wonky. There we go. He's looking off to one side. It looks like he's giving the guy next to him a bit of side eye. But that's all right. He's a seasoned veteran. I'm sure the young whippersnapper has just said something something a bit daft. And I'm going to get these guys on a base as well. The idea of basing these figures straight away is to try and protect them, as I say. Keep them a bit safer. And also stop them getting lost as well. It means that I can put them in a box and then come back to them as and when I need to. Now, I haven't got any metallic strip for this one yet, so I'll have to put that on later. So I'll have them at the back there. And then use the rest of this PVA glue to get him there. Now, these two guys still need a bit of work, don't get me wrong. The backpack straps need doing. What else needs doing? The packs need touching up from where they were cut off the sprue. Their arms need touching up. These guys are not finished. They're not complete. But I am super happy with them so far. One thing that I can do now, and I should do, is just do his chin strap. I did it on one of them, but not the other one. So that was a bit silly, wasn't it? So our young whippersnapper. Let's get his chin strap done. There we are. And to the side as well. While we're here, I've got a bit of brass on his peak, so we can do that. Cool. Right, now, because they're the Grenadier Company, their accoutrements, their plumes, and their epaulets are going to be red. Now, I ummed and ahed about this. There is a colour. Hang on, not that one. Have I even brought it up? I have. There is a colour called Screamer Pink that's done by Games Workshop. Now, it's got another name. It's Polish Crimson. This is the colour I use for my Lancers of the Guard, things like that. I did think about doing their red bits with that colour, but I am actually just going to use the normal red. I do have this here, which is the contrast. So I'm going to try that one first. I've tried it before and I wasn't super thrilled with it, I'll be honest. So I've got this as a backup if I need it. But I'm going to try this one. Give it a good shake. Shake the camera while I'm at it, just so you know that I'm serious. Let's see how this goes on the epaulets. Zero. I'm taking it out of the lid because I want it to be reasonably thick. Remember, there always seems to be more pigment out of the lid than there is anything else. So let's get that on there. Let's get this here. Now the reason that I was like thinking, oh, I might use a different colour, is I think we often get very hung up about what colour or what shade of colours things were. There's quite a famous picture that does the rounds on the internet every 6 weeks or so of a load of different coloured Wehrmacht jackets from WW2. And those are, I mean, they're all field grau, but they're all completely different shades of green. Some aren't even green, some are brown, some are grey. And it just goes to show that before like dye fasting technology was out there, clothes would change shade, they would fade, they would be used by different local manufacturers and things like that. So I thought the Polish Crimson might just be a nice little nod to the Polish, but I think with the chapkas as well, I thought it might just be a bit much. So that's why I'm going with the more traditional red. And I have to say, this Flesh Tearers red, which is the red contrast, I'm liking a lot more on here than last time I used. Last time I tried to paint some Landsknecks with it, and they were not great. So that is a third of our Polish Elite Company done. I don't know about you guys. I'm super happy with them. Really, really happy with that. Like I say, they're not finished. They still need a few more things done to them. I'm really pleased with them. I think they're fantastic. So that's them done. They can go there. We've got the standard bearer done as well. Now, we're very nearly towards the end of this, but there's one thing I haven't done, and that's the cockade. So that's the small flower thing they've got at the front of their shakos. Now, they started off being white, and the idea anyone who knows like the Polish sort of emblem is the white eagle. So because of that, they were white. However, in France, white was the colour of the monarchy. So, like at the Vendée, there was a revolt, and the guys there would wear white cockades to support the monarchy. So, Napoleon replaced it with the red, white, and blue tricolour. What I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to do them white as they were originally, and then I can go back and do the other colours at a later date, should I wish to. So it's just below the pom-pom. It's white there. And what this does is it really brings out the shako. It really catches your eye. So probably could have done this before I glued them to a base. It would have been a bit easier. I wouldn't have stabbed myself with these razor sharp bayonets, and trust me, they are actually quite sharp. Let's go back here. This is another reason why having the heads that aren't pointed directly forwards is quite handy. It means you can get your brush in between the other guys. So let's get that done there. Let's get that done there. And then there's also the cockades on the chapkers as well. So there's one. Now they're actually modelled on to be a trickler, so I may go back in the future and get the tricklers done. But I think for now, that is going to be as much as we get done on this bank holiday weekend, this Easter weekend. This is what we've done. So we've got a company of Fusiliers. That's on the right. These guys here. They're now done. As I say, I'm going to get some pictures and put them up on the Facebook page. So please try and see them on there. Like the Facebook page and check those out. These are the 2 Grenadiers in chapkers. I'm super, super pleased with them. Really glad I spent the money on the chapkers. As I say, maybe not 100% historically accurate. It's difficult to tell. Really, really pleased that I went down that route, though. I could not be happier with them. And then last but not least, we've got our standard bearer. So he is going to have quite a bit more work done to him. He needs his epaulets doing, he needs a head, and he needs his flag sorting out. You can see where the contrast is on the flag there. It's a little bit dark, so I'm going to get a medium blue on that. But he is also looking pretty swish. I'm quite pleased with him. So what we've managed to get done is we've got a complete company. We've got a third of the Grenadier company done. We've got the standard bearer done. And don't think that I've been slacking when I've not been on camera. I've got quite a few more guys ready to go. So that's the command sprue. Those are the brown trouser brigade. So I think one of those might end up being a Grenadier. Or maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. I've got another sprue done. And I've also got a sprue that is less done than those guys. Let me see if I can find them. Hang on. It's not in that pile. But I've done them with the white trousers. So that was the summer dress. So these guys here. So obviously I've not done any of the yellows or anything on those guys. But I think one of these chaps in the slouch hats, one of those might end up being a Grenadier as well. So thank you very much for joining me in the last 3 sessions, the last 4 days. It's been really good fun. I hope to do this again sometime. Maybe not in the super near future, but certainly around about May. I think we might have a go there on the May bank holiday. Again, it depends on what the situation's like, sort of in the wider world, and if you guys are interested. But thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute blast. And we got there in the end. It was a bit of a disaster starting off, but we got there in the end. So thank you very much. I uploaded a video yesterday on Austrian light cavalry. So if you haven't seen it, check that one out. Next week should be Austrian heavy cavalry. I'll try and record that later on today and get that up for next week. But all that said, thank you so much for joining me in the last couple of days. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.